That's it.
Hang on.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone, friends and colleagues. So we in the Baylor Church Music Programs and the Dunn Center for Christian Music Studies are delighted to welcome you this evening for what is sure to be a wonderful and memorable Northcutt Lecture. Recognized as one of the most prestigious lectureships in the field, the Northcutt Lecture has, over the years, brought many of the most respected voices in church music and practice and scholarship to Baylor. These events serve not only as academic milestones, but also as moments of inspiration for all of us. They challenge and encourage students, faculty, and the wider Baylor community to think deeply about the role of music in the life of the church. Before introducing this evening's speaker, however, we would like to mark an important anniversary. Today, April 7th, marks 1 year since the passing of Mrs. Cassandra Northcutt. Cassandra's love for church music and her deep pride in Baylor helped shape the vision that she and LeGrand shared in establishing this lecture series so many years ago. As we gather for this year's lecture, we want to honor her life, her generosity, and her enduring commitment to us at Baylor. And we have Mark Newton. Mark, we're very happy to see you. Her son-in-law is here representing the family today. Through today's events, we celebrate not only the scholarly contributions inspired by the Northcutt's legacy, but also the spirit of hospitality, curiosity, and faith that Cassandra embodied and so freely offered to the world. So before we begin, let's pause for a brief moment of silence to thank God for her life and her legacy. Amen. Thank you. It now gives me deep honor and great pleasure to welcome the Reverend John Bell as our 2026 Northcutt Lecturer. Many of you will know his name already, but it is a special joy for us to welcome him back because, as we were talking about over lunch, this is now the third time he has been with us at Baylor, following previous visits in 2010 and 2015. John Bell is a hymn writer, teacher, song compiler, and an ordained minister in the Church of Scotland. For decades, he has been one of the most influential voices in the renewal of Christian worship. That influence has taken many forms. With his colleagues, he has produced more than 15 collections of songs and octavos, along with a wide range of liturgical resources. He also oversaw the production of a major hymnal for the Church of Scotland. And for students and church musicians seeking wisdom that's both theological and deeply pastoral on congregational singing, I'd recommend to you his books, The Singing Thing, which examines the reasons people sing together, and The Singing Thing Too, which offers a deep dive into best practices for learning and teaching new songs in church. These remain invaluable resources. At the heart of all of his work is a deep commitment to the church's song. John Bell has helped churches recover congregational singing that is at once theologically rich and deeply singable. Music made not just for choirs or highly trained specialists, but for the gathered people of God. Through his work with the Iona community and Wild Goose Resource Group, he has given and continues to give the church songs that are poetic, memorable, and accessible. Just as importantly, he has remained attentive to the global breadth of Christian worship, amplifying the work of songwriters from far beyond Scotland, indeed from around the world. Many congregations know him through beloved hymns such as The Summons, but his larger contributions extend well beyond any single song. He has helped generations of worship leaders and worshipers think more deeply about what the church sings, why it sings, and how song can form communities of prayer, justice, beauty, and hope. It's fitting, then, that his work has already been recognized in so many quarters. John Bell has been named a Fellow of the Royal School of Church Music and was awarded an honorary doctorate by the University of Glasgow. In 2018, he received the Cranmer Award for Worship from the Archbishop of Canterbury for his outstanding Christian witness through hymn writing, broadcasting, and social action. What has made John Bell's ministry so enduring is the rare combination of gifts he brings to it: theological seriousness, moral courage, and pastoral warmth. His writing and teaching have shaped worship across denominations and continents, and they have done so in a way that consistently honors the voices of ordinary people. We are deeply honored to have him with us once again today as our Northcutt Lecturer. His lecture this evening is entitled "The Essential Heterogeneity of Congregational Song," an important issue for church musicians. Please join me in welcoming the Reverend John Bell.
Now, friends, can you hear me? Yeah, if you understand, that's a bonus. This morning, I was telling somebody that the waiter asked me what I like for breakfast, and I said, what did I say? Granola, that's right, thank you. I said granola, and he said, you don't come from here. And I said, do you know that by my accent? And he said, no, it's because you asked for granola. So I come from a very small country called Scotland, less than 5 million people. And it's a country which has given to the world whiskey, which is bad for you, golf, which not many people can play properly, and Auld Lang Syne, a song which nobody understands. And so from that, and we only have really had one serious musician in 400 years, because a great composer called Robert Carver, who was the equivalent of Palestrina, Monteverdi, died in 1559. And we had to wait 400 years until another composer called James Macmillan, who's internationally renowned, was born in our country. So from this small country, I feel very honoured to be in this establishment because of its prestige. And the last in the line, present line of the Northcutt lecturers, looking at their names, there are almost half of them who I've met and all of them who I revere. So thank you very much to all who have enabled me to come here and made this a very enjoyable visit. The greatest privilege, I suppose, though, is the fact that I'm now speaking to people who are going to be, perhaps in many cases, highly influential in the development of Christian understanding in this country. And I'll see why in a moment, but we'll sing first. All we need is here, all we need is here, God is among us, all we need is here. All we need is here, all we need is here, God is among us, all we need is here. All we need is here, all we need is here, God is among us, all we need is here. All we need is here, all we need is here, God is among, God is among us, all we need is here, all we need is here, God is among us, all we need is here, all we need is here. See, my premise for saying that you are one of the most influential group of people with regard to the spirituality and belief of people stems from my belief that what people sing is ultimately what they end up believing. And this is true in very many different ways. You know, were there people here of my vintage, of which there are none, I could sing, "You'll wonder where the yellow went," and they would respond, "When you brush your teeth with Pepsodent." And everybody would think, well, what's that about? Well, it was a jingle in the early 60s in America and in Britain, which was to persuade people that Pepsodent toothpaste was the best because it got rid of any yellowing on your teeth. And advertisers have known that if you get the right jingle into people's mind, they'll believe it and they might purchase that product. And in the more kind of political realm, if one can call it that, if you look at, I can only speak for Europe, at the kind of national songs which people sing, they're songs which have to stir the hearts of people and make them believe in the virtue of their own nation. Deutschland, Deutschland über alles. Or Wilhelmus van een Jan Oranje, ik ben van Duitser bloed. That's for the Netherlands. Or Allons enfants de la patrie, the patriotic song from France. And in Britain we have this great song which begins, "When Britain first at heaven's command arose from the azure waves." Now, I'm not an oceanographer, but I don't think Britain was necessarily the first rock to appear when the earth cooled. But the most important line is when it comes to guardian angels, of which we don't know much, but if there's an angel song which is popular, it's the Sanctus, "Holy, holy, holy." But in this song, it's "Rule Britannia, Britannia rules the waves, Britons never, never, never shall be slaves." And all these songs have in common a sense of the virtue of the nation, an expectation that the nation may be able to dominate others, and the notion that God is behind these enterprises. And they're there because the nations have wanted people to believe in their virtue and in their God-ordained righteousness. What we sing shapes in a very profound way what we believe. And I say this not lightly and not with any disparaging of pastors, of which I'm one. My primary vocation is preaching. But I know that when the most rhetorically sophisticated line in the most revered sermon is forgotten, people will remember, "Jesus loves me, this I know." Or, "O Lord my God, when I in awesome wonder," or "Amazing grace, how sweet the sound." If you ask people, as I do from time to time, was Jesus ever angry? They probably would say no. Or, well, maybe just once, when he overturned the tables in the temples. Despite there being another 12 instances where he is angry with Peter, who very often gets it in the neck, with the Pharisees, with people who want to keep children back. But people will not see that as Jesus' anger. Somehow that's overlooked. Even when he comes to the grave or rather when he sees Mary weeping because her brother has died, when he sees her weeping and the friends who were with her weeping, he was indignant. But people don't believe that Jesus can be angry because, well, it says in the hymns something quite different. "No one marked an angry word, whoever heard him speak." Ask if Jesus was born when there was snow on the ground, if his mother travelled to Bethlehem on a donkey, if the innkeeper had a wife, if Bethlehem was totally silent, and if he didn't cry at the point of birth. People will say yes, because that's not what the Bible says, but it's what the carols say. And so we believe a kind of pastiche about Christmas. Ask people whether change is a feature of faith. And people might be resistant because some of the most traditional hymns have lines like, "Change and decay in all around I see." I remember in the very north of Scotland on a very cold Saturday morning, with a colleague of mine taking a couple of talks or sessions on the church and change. And one could see the resistance in people's faces, and eventually this revered and lovely old man said, "Well, I don't think that we're into change. He says, you know, if in our church you said that you didn't believe in the virgin birth, nobody would bother, but try to move the communion table 6 inches and, well, that wouldn't be a possibility at all. And I said, why this resistance? And he says, well, I don't know about other people, but for me, it goes back to a hymn which I learned in my childhood with one particularly persuasive line: change and decay in all around I see. O thou who changest not, abide with me. And you find in other hymns like Immortal, Invisible, God Only Wise, and Praise My Soul, the King of Heaven, and in O Lord my God, When I in Awesome Wonder, the same sentiment that change is inimical to God and to faith. And this despite, in the scriptures, clear evidence that God changes God's mind. The old children of Israel get to the door of the promised land and they're scared of the future, and they talk about the great land which God has brought them to as being full of giants, beside which they feel like grasshoppers. And Moses is stuck with this dilemma. The people don't want to go forward. In fact, they want to go back. There's a mantra which starts up in the camp: back to Egypt, back to Egypt. Egypt will be better than this. And Moses goes to God and says, God, you know, I've brought them here. It's not been easy. And now that we're at the doors of the promised land, they don't want to go in. I don't think you're going to send them back to Egypt. I don't think you're going to let them in. What are you going to do? And God says, okay, they're not going forward and they're not going back. They're going to go into the wilderness for 40 years until all the complainers die off. The word of the Lord, thanks be to God. It's the book of Numbers. It's not everyone's favourite bedtime reading, but it's an interesting book because if you go further, you discover the story of the daughters of Zelophehad, 5 girls whose father died and he left no male heirs. And so the law of Moses, which God had given to Moses and Moses had administered, said, if a man dies without any male heirs, then his property, his wealth, will go to his brothers. And these 5 girls who have looked after their father discovered that they're at the mercy of their uncle's generosity. And they go to Moses. I feel sorry for Moses constantly. And they go to Moses in the same way. It's unfair. We didn't ask to be girls. Our father didn't pray for daughters. This is the way it turned out. And now he's died, and we're left at the mercy of the generosity of our uncles. It's totally unfair. So Moses goes to God and says, God, what am I going to do with these women? You know? And God says, change the law. Change the law. It took 3,000 years before that change became legal reality in my country, if not in yours. So I'm going to speak about what we sing. And I'm going to speak theologically and biblically, and there'll be some musical interludes. And I want to start with a little bit of theology. A great deal of Christian song rightly reflects the death and resurrection of Christ, the Redeemer of the world. We've just come fresh from the season in which the last days of Christ's life have been sung and celebrated, and then we celebrated his rising from the grave, and soon we'll be celebrating his ascension. We sing much less of the incarnation. That word has in many places lost its primal significance. It's been buried under the heading of Christmas and non-biblical entities such as the baby who never cries, a mother who always wears blue, an innkeeper who does not appear in Scripture, and shepherds who put a lamb beside the baby in the manger. In the older carols, there's a recognition about the momentous change in the heart of God, on which all else, the crucifixion and the resurrection, depend. It's the incarnation, the enfleshment of God in a human person. It's a wonder beyond comprehension. It's about God redeeming the earth from below, not redeeming the earth from above. The throne room of highest heaven has been left behind, and now on the ground, in the person of one who has no status and whose identity is yet to be endorsed. This is God among us. God redeems from below. And this, to me, suggests that fulfillment in Christian music is not predicated on the instrumental or compositional skills of the ultra-gifted, but the discovery of those who are at the bottom of the ladder that they too are able to give God a song. And when God gives the command, sing me a new song, it's not to the sopranos who are hoping to make the Met at one time. It's not to the gifted instrumentalists. When God says, sing me a new song, it's addressed to the whole assembly. Everyone's there. Everyone's important. Sometimes we see the act of worship as comparable to what one sees in a theatre, and that's perfectly understandable. Indeed, the term the theatre of worship is sometimes used. And so we can think analogously of the lead actors being replaced by the pastor and the worship leader, the Greek chorus being the practiced vocal assembly, the orchestra in the pit is either the organ in the gallery or the praise band in full view, and the audience is the congregation. That might be an appealing comparison, but it has no place in the Christian understanding of worship. For when in the Psalms and the prophet God desires that songs be sung and praise be offered, the injunction is directed primarily at the congregation in all its splendor or frailty. The analogy has to be turned upside down. In worship, God is the audience, and everyone is on the stage, and everyone's voice is important, especially those who, like me, have been told in their life that they can't sing. 1 in 5 people in Great Britain believe they can't sing. And if you're to ask them, why do you know that? They will inevitably point to a moment in their life when someone said, you can't sing. It happened twice to me. This is a great sob story. Have your handkerchiefs ready. When I was 10, I was told to mime. Well, that was understandable. My voice was coming to breaking point. But when I was 17, in full view of the school chorus, with guys who I had played football with and girls who I had danced with, the music teacher says, Belle, you can't sing. And it's like a death sentence, that which has been alive has been pronounced unusable or dead by someone who you revere. And it takes a long time when that's been said about you for you to get over it. It took me until I was about 34. Then I thought, I am older than the guy who told me I couldn't sing. Why should I be bullied by a younger guy? And eventually I traced him. I wrote these books which were referred to the singing thing too. And the singing thing, the first one, I dedicated it to Tom Aiken, who told me I could not sing. And I met him in Brisbane, in Australia. By this time he was a professor of music in a college. And we met, and it wasn't Belle and Mr. Aiken, it was Tom and John, very nice. So after about 4 coffees, I said, well, by the way, Tom, I wanted to meet you because I wrote a book which I've dedicated to you. Oh, he said, that's very kind of you. Why is that? I said, because you told me I couldn't sing. And he said, and you can't. However, I've got over that because I realized that God did not give me the voice which is the voice either of an angel or of an opera singer. I have a younger brother who's sung for 40 years in Covent Garden Opera in London. I've never wanted to be a performer in any way at all. But I do believe that everybody can sing, even people who are deaf. And the job of the church musician is to enable that to happen. Maybe we should just sing now. Let's think, all the women here. Prepare, prepare the way of the Lord. Prepare, prepare the way of the Lord. Similar phrases. Prepare, prepare the way of the Lord. Prepare, prepare the way of the Lord. Okay, on your own. Prepare, prepare the way of the Lord. Prepare, prepare the way of the Lord. That was just the women, but that's fine. Women here, prepare, prepare the way of the Lord. 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 Can you get the third note? Prepare, prepare. F, G, A, G, F, E flat, if that helps. Prepare, prepare the way of the Lord. Prepare, prepare the way of the Lord. And now for men who say they can't sing. Prepare, prepare the way of the Lord. Prepare, prepare the way of the Lord. Prepare, prepare the way. That's fine. That's beautiful. Just keep it that, okay? Men here. Prepare, prepare the way of the Lord. 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 Okay, we'll put it all together. It'll be the men here, and then the women, and then the women here, and then the men. Prepare the way of the men. Here we go. Prepare, prepare the way of the Lord. Prepare, prepare the women. Prepare, prepare the way of the Lord. Prepare, prepare the way of the Lord. Keep going. Prepare, prepare the way of the Lord. Prepare, prepare the way of the Lord. I've done this with 4,000 people in a racing stadium. It's the women. Prepare, prepare the way of the Lord. Can you do that? Prepare, prepare the way. No, listen. Prepare, prepare the way of the Lord. You see, what I'm doing is letting you feel tense, which is exactly how people feel when you give them music and they can't read notes. That's why I'm doing this. But everybody is enabled to sing if actually we teach them a way which is appropriate. So I'll do it again. Everybody else is okay, just the women here. Not to make a point of it. Prepare, prepare the way of the Lord. Prepare, prepare the way of the Lord. Keep going. Prepare, prepare the way of the Lord. That's a bless you. Okay, men, maybe sotto voce. If you know what that word means, well, do it. Prepare, prepare the way of the Lord. Prepare. They've got the vibe. Prepare, prepare the way of the Lord. Prepare, prepare the way of the Lord. Women here. Prepare, prepare the way of the Lord. Prepare, prepare the way of. Keep going. Prepare. prepare the way of the Lord. 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 7 out of 10. Because you all read music. And it's important that sometimes we just feel for the discomfort which many people who don't read music feel all the time. So a bit about the Bible, because I said I'd speak biblically. And my starting point would be Genesis chapter 1, a great hymn which celebrates the creative genius of God. It's probably bypassed many of us that in the 6 days of creation, God never creates just one entity. There are always two or more, light and darkness, water separated in two constituencies, sea and dry land, sun and moon, birds and fish, a galaxy of animals and humans in two equal varieties. Diversity is part of the deal. Fast forward to the Tower of Babel. Here's a humanly designed project to build a tower soaring into the sky, populated by people who've decided to have a common language and a common objective, and God destroys it. Not because God doesn't like towers. In the Psalms, God's frequently referred to as a great tower. No, God destroys it because it's an imperial exercise, a monoculture in which the variety of human abilities is harnessed to one project and the variety of human languages is eliminated. Diversity is part of the deal. Take the Bible as a whole. Unless you believe that it was written by one person who lived for about 3,000 years and had a command of ancient languages and a magnificent range of literary skills, you have to deduce that the Bible has a range of authors over a range of centuries who had a range of different abilities. Because in the Bible we find history and genealogy and legal codes and poetry and wisdom sayings and letters and mystical writings and prophetic utterances and parables and divine oracles. And this variety of types is the means by which God enables truth to be communicated in a variety of ways other than in a heavily indexed prose of a PhD thesis. Diversity is part of the deal. So why is it when we come to church music, whether it be the Gregorian chant as in the pre-Vatican II Roman Catholic denomination, or the psalm singing of strict Calvinists, or the organ and choir-led hymnody of Anglicans and Methodists, or the praise band ensembles of Baptists, uniformity rather than variety pertains? Is it that God delights only in Genevan psalms or Lutheran chorales or Hillsong choruses, and so different traditions enviously keep within their historic parameters because they all know what God likes? Or is it a reticence on the part of pastors and musicians either to be disrespectful of God's delight in diversity, or is it a fear that to alter or amend both the diet of praise and the way it's led might lead to a termination of employment? I frequently, if I'm dealing with church organists, bless them, they're not perhaps the most honoured of people, but if you dare say, in my case, I do this often, we'll sing this hymn unaccompanied. And they respond, are you trying to put me out of a job? No, it's not I'm trying to put you out of a job. It's just because this is a song which is not suited to the organ. That's all, my dear. Gradually, people can, if they look, begin to detect different genres. The North American folk hymn, Genevan chorales, Genevan psalms and Lutheran chorales, Negro spirituals, Taizé chants, Wesleyan hymns, metrical Presbyterian psalmody, contemporary praise and worship songs, liturgical anthems. And then there are differences in terms of typology, lament, personal testimony, community song, praise song, intercessory hymn, responsorial psalm, call and response acclamation. And there's also differences in the purpose of the music of the church: to praise God, to express penitence, to register lament, to celebrate a season or a sacrament or a life event, to articulate spiritual texts, particularly the Psalms, to enable a particular liturgical action to happen: baptism, confirmation, wedding, funeral, to provide a space for reflection. And then there's the differences in performance. Should it be a solo voice, the congregation, the choir or singing group, a cappella, improvised accompaniment on the keyboard, guitar or chordal accompaniment? This is very biblical. Look at the headings in the King James Version of the Bible, the one that Jesus used. Look at the headings in the King James Version of the Bible and see above certain psalms that it describes how they are best sung, with or without the temple choir, with or without particular instruments. So now I speak musically. The historical period where you would find an acknowledgement of the range of diversities is probably between 1685 and 1750 in the writings of Bach. For in his church cantatas we have instrumental interludes, we have choral singing, solo voices, congregational participation in the chorale melodies, keyboard accompaniment, a smorgasbord of musical styles and presentations. I'm going in a moment to ask us to sing Amazing Grace and to think of how it might best be sung, because what type of song is it? Well, you could say it's a standard 18th century English hymn, and it's set to a pentatonic melody. What's its subject matter? Well, it's personal testimony. What's its purpose? To express deliverance and register affection for God. So how might it best be used in worship? So let's deal with the text, the first person singular. How do we allow the first person singular to be present? Maybe by using one voice. In the first and second verses, there's a notion of wonder. So maybe if we sing it a cappella rather than accompanied, people might even wonder at the magnificence of their own voices, particularly in a buoyant acoustic like this. Verse 3 has a kind of sense of struggle, so let's do that in harmony, where there's a difference in experience. And verse 4 has a note of eternity, so let's sing it in canon. Now, I'm just remembering that in different places, different people both sing the tune differently and also have different verses. So we begin with Amazing Grace. Verse 2, 'twas grace. Third verse, through many. Fourth verse, when we've been here 10,000 years. Okay, I'll say the first words as we begin. Now, would somebody like to sing the first verse? Amazing Grace. Okay, thank you. Would you do it? Okay. So you do verse 1, and, you know, if you take it this speed, dee da dee dee dee, okay, and verse 2 we'll sing in unison, and verse 3 we'll sing in harmony, and verse 4 we'll sing in canon. So it'll be the first 3 rows here, and then you'll be part 2, and you'll be part 3, and you'll be part 4. Unison, 'twas grace. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How harmony through many, through many. When we in canon, when we as the sun, we've come, we've come, Any congregation can do that. I've done it with the Any congregation. Rosemary Presbyterian Church in Northern Ireland, in Belfast. If you were an ardent Catholic, to turn Rosemary into Rosary Presbyterian Church would be very easy with a little paint. And when I suggested to the congregation who wanted to sing in the traditional way in which people sang in church, I said, okay, it's unaccompanied, and this is how we're going to sing Amazing Grace. And I thought we'd maybe have to get in some defibrillators because some people were looking quite aghast at the prospect. And then just as we did it, they did it. And discovered for the first time, I think, in a building which was dominated either by the sound of a praise band or an organ, discovered for the first time that their voices, their amateur voices, could make a lovely sound. It's the kind of thing which we have to learn from the developing world. It was mentioned earlier that our indebtedness to South Africa, places like Paraguay, Romania, places where one would not think that the music of any great sophistication might come. Well, it can be very sophisticated. There's a choir, the Immanuel Cantu singers in Cape Town, who I worked with for a while. I wasn't directing them, we were doing a programme for the BBC, and I was quite astounded that when I was there, they talked about how they sang Handel's Messiah from beginning to end without any notes at all. And on the 10th anniversary of the abolition of apartheid, they came to England to sing in a concert. It began with, it was a Mendelssohn choral piece. It sounded to me like his Juvenilia. I mean, there's better bits, but never mind. And then they sang a cantata where the words were written by the Consul General of South Africa in England, the ambassador in London, I should say, and the music was written by a black African composer and chorally arranged for choir and orchestra by a white composer, and everything without any music. All the women here. God welcomes all, strangers and friends. God's love is strong and it never ends. God welcomes all, strangers and friends. God's love is strong and it never... Just the women. God welcomes all, strangers and friends. God's love is strong and it never... Women here, God welcomes all, strangers and friends. God's love is strong and it never ends. God welcomes all, strangers and friends. God's love is strong and it never. 99%, that's great. And men, God welcomes all, strangers and friends. God's love is strong and it never ends. All the men, God welcomes all. Let's get that note right. God welcomes all. Okay. God welcomes all, strangers and friends. God's love is strong and it never ends. Again. God welcomes all, strangers and friends. God's love is strong and it never ends. La-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee. Women begin. And God welcomes all, strangers and friends. God's love is strong and it never ends. Women. God welcomes all, strangers and friends. God's love is strong and it Same again, just the women. God welcomes all, strangers and friends. God's love is strong and it... Here come the men. God welcomes all, strangers and friends. God's love is strong and it never ends. God welcomes all, strangers and friends. God's love is strong and it never ends. Well, that wasn't the Imalanji Cantu singers. That was a hospice for people north of Pretoria who were dying of HIV/AIDS at a time when in that country there were no antiretrovirals, and Mbeki, the president, was denying that it was a black person's disease. And 3 women who were nurses prayed to God that something could happen for all these people who were dying of, they called it SLIM. And so they began a day hospice in which people could come, and there were some therapies they could get, physiotherapy, aromatherapy, which were paid for by charities, and food, nutrition. And when this, working with the BBC, when we came into the campus, there were about 70 people, and some are on their back dancing, kicking their legs, and the other people are singing this song. And later on, when I spoke to the woman who was in charge, I said, "Did you put all this on for us coming with the cameras?" And she said, "What?" I said, "Well, no, that singing when we came in was marvelous. 3-part harmony." She says, "No, we do this every day. We always spend 15 minutes singing and praying." And I said, "But I couldn't see who were the practitioners, who were the nurses, and who were the people." And she said, "No, you wouldn't, because in this place we have discovered that it's for the healthy to be touched by those who are sick in order that healing happens. That when the sick touch the healthy, healing happens. When the unmusical touch the expert musicians, a new kind of music can be made." Well, you've got a sheet in front of you which has some notes. So I think we should maybe finish with singing them. This is this is in the same rhythm as the last 2 songs we've sung. 3, I think you call them quarter beats twice, and then 2 quarter beats. If you have perfect pitch, I would put you off, so I better get the night route. So, the Lord is my light and salvation. Whom shall I fear? Whom shall I fear? The Lord is my light and salvation. Why should I be afraid? Okay, sopranos, that's your part. Let's sing it. The Lord is my light my light and salvation. Whom shall I fear? Whom shall I fear? The Lord is my light and salvation. Why should I be afraid? Altos, the Lord is my light and salvation. Whom shall I fear? Whom shall I fear? The Lord is my light and salvation. Why should I be afraid? Men, the Lord is my light and salvation. Whom shall I fear? Whom shall I fear? The Lord is my light and salvation. Why should I be afraid? Together, D. Everyone starting at the same note. Just check it. Oh, we've slipped. Go. D, da, D, D, D. And the Lord is my light and salvation. Whom shall I fear? Whom shall I fear? The Lord is my light and salvation. Why should I be afraid? Great. So, if you don't mind very much, then this untutored voice, which was told twice that it could not sing, will do the first two verses, and you sing the chorus, and then when we come to verse 3, by that time you'll know the tune for the verse. And it would probably help you if, when I sing verse 2, you hum under me. You don't have the music, so you have to use your ears for this tune. You hum under me, and then come verse 3, you'll know the tune. One and two, the Lord is my light and salvation. Whom shall I fear? Whom shall I fear? Lord is my light and salvation. Why should I be afraid? When the powers of evil move towards me, when my very flesh is under threat, when my enemies smell the scent of victory, they shall stumble and fall. The Lord is my light and salvation. Whom shall I fear? Whom shall I fear? The Lord is my light and salvation. Why should I be afraid? Should a mighty army stand around me, still my heart would register no fear. Though a war were waged, though it raged against me, I trust God and stand firm. The Lord is my light and salvation. Whom shall I fear? Whom shall I fear? The Lord is my light and salvation. Why should I be afraid? One through which all my soul is seeking, to live out my life within God's house, there to spend my days, gazing at His beauty when at one with my Lord. The Lord is my light and salvation. Whom shall I fear? Whom shall I fear? The Lord is my light and salvation. Why should I be afraid? God protects me in the time of trouble, shelters me yet sets me on a rock. Safe from every harm, safe from all that threatens, I will sing and rejoice. The Lord is my light and salvation. Whom shall I fear? Whom shall I fear? The Lord is my salvation. Why should I be afraid? The Lord is my light, and the Lord is my light and salvation. Whom shall I fear? Whom shall I fear? The Lord is my light and salvation. Why should I be afraid? God bless you all.